Hey, what's going on guys, Kris here, and welcome to another Battlefield 5 Weapon Versus, where I pit two of the game's guns with similar stats against each other to see how they compare, and discuss how one is probably going to be more suited to certain situations, and of course, more suited to your style of play. In this video, we're going to be checking out two semi-automatic rifles in the Assault class, the first being the Turner SMLE, a prototype semi-auto conversion of the bolt-action Lee Enfield, and the second being another prototype weapon, the MAS-44. A French rifle that would have seen very limited use during the latter stages of World War II. In Battlefield 5, these two guns function in a very similar way, though there's still quite a few small but important differences between them, just enough to make them feel like individual weapons, giving both specific advantages and disadvantages over the other. So let's get those stats up to see how they compare and how they're going to fit into the Assault class. Now, one of the key factors to determine a weapon's success in the game is down to how deadly it's going to be. Because at the end of the day, you're going to want those bullets to hurt and put your opponents on the floor before they have a chance to do the same to you. A lot of the semi-automatic rifles in Battlefield 5 dish out different damage stats to each other, giving them more appeal at certain ranges and more stopping power overall. But in this case, the two guns in question are both going to inflict the same, with the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 dealing a maximum damage of 40 up to the range of 25 meters, which then drops off over distance, eventually reaching its minimum damage of 28 at 75. Though due to the way the damage slopes off, you're going to be able to drop another player in 3 shots up to the range of 50 meters, and anyone further away from this is going to require an extra 4th shot to finish them off for good. Of course, this is providing your target's got a full bar of health, otherwise you're probably going to be able to get the job done in less rounds. And if you can plant one of those bullets into your enemy's skull, then as you'd naturally expect, this is going to make life easier for yourself, because it's pretty much going to deal a lot more damage and reduce the amount of shots needed to kill by one, which is always a good way to put players down fast. In relation to a lot of other semi-automatics, these damage figures are actually quite nice, with both the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 generally being above average regarding damage per bullet. So this means that you might be able to finish players off more effectively, with each successfully placed shots having more of an impact than others. Though as far as crowning a winner for lethality, neither the Turner SMLE or MAS-44 have any kind of notable difference, because along with having identical damage stats, they've also got an identical fire rate too, with the two rifles pumping out bullets at a rate of 360 RPM, a rate which can't be improved with specializations either. For this reason, they're both on a level playing field as far as deadliness goes. I guess you could take into account the fact that the MAS-44 does have a higher muzzle velocity, technically giving it superior kill times by a teeny margin, because its bullets fly a tad faster, but that's still not really enough to make any sort of noticeable difference in general play. And in most cases, the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 are going to perform equally when it comes to damage and speed. Well, there's no massive difference in the way the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 dish out that damage. And so the biggest comparisons defining the two guns come from their other factors, one of those factors being their precision. Now, it's nice to know that horizontal recoil isn't going to be getting in the way, and being semi-automatic rifles, both the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 basically have 0 left or right movement when firing. This means that they're both going to be incredibly accurate, and you don't really need to worry about any horizontal recoil forcing your shots off target, like you would with most of the other weapons in the game. The one thing that is going to affect the gun's precision though, other than spread, which is increased when you're moving around, is that vertical recoil, with the guns kicking upwards only and not side to side. The higher the vertical recoil, the more the rifle's line of fire is going to kick upwards, causing it to become less stable as you fire away. And in this case, it's the Turner SMLE that's got the naughtier value, with a vertical kick reading of 1.32, making it a little bit bouncier than the MAS-44 with its 1.22 value. This might just mean that the MAS-44 will be able to handle with ranged targets a little bit easier, especially when you're spamming the trigger to reach its maximum fire rate, as less bullets are likely to fly over your opponent's head. There isn't a hell of a lot in it between these recoil patterns, and so within shorter sight lines you might not really notice a huge difference. Though the MAS-44 should technically be able to hit players further away a little bit more consistently, because of its slightly lower vertical kick, potentially making it more precise and easier to aim with. Both the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 do happen to have the recoil buffer specialization, reducing that vertical kick to make the guns more controllable. And if you apply it to the Turner SMLE, it's going to beat the MAS-44's base value, with a nicely improved figure of 1.056, giving it an edge over the standard version of the MAS-44. But of course, with that gun also having access to the recoil buffer spec, this is going to drop that upwards kick down even further than the Turner SMLEs, with a new value of 0.976, giving the MAS-44 the best recoil pattern overall. The recoil buffer spec is going to improve both of the weapons' usability over range, but the MAS-44 generally has the better accuracy, and is going to have a slight advantage in a lot of longer distance fights. The fact that the Turner SMLE also has the lower muzzle velocity of 700 meters per second makes it fine enough to use over those close to mid ranges, but perhaps might make it seem trickier to land shots on targets far into the distance. Whereas the MAS-44 has the faster bullet speed with a muzzle velocity of 820 meters per second. And this can be bumped up even further with the high velocity bullet spec to a very impressive 920 meters per second, which is really bloody high as far as Battlefield 5 weapons go, giving it one of the fastest bullet speeds in the entire game. So this combination of a more manageable recoil pattern and higher muzzle velocity does give the MAS-44 an edge in a lot of longer range battles, and can often make it feel a little bit easier to use too, especially for landing shots on targets running around over those mid to long ranges. So there's quite a lot of stuff to talk about in this section, because there's quite a lot of different magazine combinations that can be used with both weapons, all affecting their bullet counts, reload times, and the way they handle with ammunition. But let's start off with the basics, because straight off the bat, the two guns both have the same ammo capacity of 10 rounds as standard, allowing them to use two 5-round stripper clips or a combination of clips and individual bullets. They can also both have this capacity increase up to 11 by using the detachable magazine specialization, giving both rifles one extra cartridge, which is always a nice little bonus thing to have. But unlike the MAS-44 boasting 11 rounds max, the Turner SMLE has the option to have an extended magazine, letting it hold twice as many bullets as standard. This magazine isn't detachable, so you will have to refill it up with clips and bullets, generally taking more time to do, but it does allow you to keep on going through the fight for longer and take on more enemies as you do, possibly making it more reliable in situations when you're overcome by the enemy team, meaning that it's going to be less of a problem if you miss a few shots, thus allowing the Turner SMLE to be a bit more spammable. Without specializations, the two guns are pretty much on par with each other when it comes to reloads, with it roughly taking between about 2.9 to 6 seconds to perform tactical reloads and about 4.8 seconds to perform empty ones, give or take a few milliseconds. But things start to get a bit more interesting when you take the Turner SMLE's 20 round magazine into consideration, because although you'll be able to double your capacity, reloads can unsurprisingly take a lot more time to perform than usual. A tactical reload can cost you up to 8.7 seconds at most, if you want to refill the gun back up with 19 cartridges. And a full fat 20 round empty reload is going to take about 7.6 seconds, consisting of 4 stripper clips. This gives the Turner SMLE more usability within shorter sight lines where you're more likely to become vulnerable with a smaller magazine. Though if you are planning on using that extended mag, then you are going to have to be extra careful not to get too carried away. And make sure you have a good hiding spot while you perform its reloads, because they are going to take quite a while to see out. Last of all, we've also got the other option of detachable magazines, which both guns have the ability to use. And despite seeming like they should have the same sort of reload times between each other, the Turner SMLE actually reloads them quicker, with a tactical reload of 2.2 seconds instead of 2.8, and an empty reload of 3.15 seconds instead of 3.6. This clearly gives the Turner SMLE the superior reloads, and generally makes it the better option for overall reliability, as although the two guns are both pretty much the same straight out the gate, when you get those specializations involved, the Turner SMLE is going to have the ammo advantage, down to it having either a larger magazine or faster detachable mag reloads than the MAS-44. So which gun should you choose? Both the Turner SMLE and MAS-44 are extremely similar on the face of it, and despite a few small, subtle differences, statistically speaking, they're pretty much almost the same thing. Though with that said, there is still enough difference between the two guns to make them feel individual. They both deal the same damage, shoot with the same speeds, and pretty much have the same kill times. So if your choice is going to be based solely on their ability to take down other players, then you might as well just pick either. It's some of the weapon's hidden qualities that really define their differences, as from a general standpoint, the MAS-44's got the best precision, and the Turner SMLE is going to be a bit more reliable with its ammo. The MAS-44's got less vertical recoil and a much higher muzzle velocity, so this makes it the more stable option that's not only going to be easier to control, but also easier to use against players far away. With the high velocity bullet spec, you can potentially boost the MAS-44's velocity even higher, giving it one of the fastest bullet speeds in the game. And that's going to make those enemies running around far into the distance a lot easier to hit, as you're not going to need to lead their movements quite as much. The Turner SMLE's got the lower velocity, and so it might seem a bit trickier to use for long-ranged engagements, being a gun more suited for mid-ranges instead. Because the MAS-44 does have the better precision overall, this means that you might be able to spam the trigger a bit more and take full advantage of its maximum fire rate, all whilst being able to stay on target. Less bullets are likely to miss, and therefore the MAS-44's magazines just might be a tad more sustainable as a result. But that's all down to your own aim at the end of the day. And despite the two guns having the same ammo capacity and very similar reload speeds from the word go, as you work your way down that specialization tree, the Turner SMLE's got a couple of advantages that are going to make it more reliable. Unlike the MAS-44, it's got access to a 20 round mag. Or should you go down the detachable mags route, which the MAS-44's also got access to, then the Turner SMLE's still going to have the edge, as it's got slightly quicker detachable mag reloads. So either way, the Turner SMLE is going to be better at keeping you in the fight, and protecting your ass when things start to get a bit hectic. So that's just about it for this one, folks. Hope you enjoyed the video and maybe learned some stuff. Thumbs up if you did, and subscribe and ring that bell to stay informed on all the new content coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you in that next episode.